Well, hello again. It's Pastor Wes from Liberty Health Share. I have a message for you today. I'm going to use a verse from the book of Matthew. In the middle of the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus said something really interesting, and I'm just going to focus on these few words. He said, "Whoever forces you to go 1 mile, go with him 2." It's the law of the second mile. And I would ask you today, do you feel like you're a second miler? Let's talk about that for a few moments. Second milers go above and beyond. They do more than is required or asked of them. In the context of Jesus' words, we know that Romans controlled the country of Israel. They were in bondage. They were subjected to their Roman rule. And there was a rule that any Roman soldier could grab any citizen off the street and force them to carry their baggage, their backpack, whatever they had, even their weapons, for at least a mile. They could force them to do that. They couldn't force them to go any further. And it was sort of a subjugation kind of tactic, sort of mental warfare, if you will, just letting people know they were sort of slaves in some ways. And so it was a law that caused stinging resentment. Into that, Jesus says, if someone asks you to go a mile, go the second mile. And he instilled in early believers that they were to do things differently. Their lives were to be a testimony to other people around them, how they reacted, how they responded to unfairness and mistreatment. Living as a second miler will put a spring in your step, a smile on your face, a song in your heart, if you will. Instead of life driving you, you are driving your life in a positive way. So 3 things very quickly. The second mile is a character mile. Jesus was looking for people who would live over and above the requirements. He was looking for people full of love and full of servanthood. The first mile is to love those who love us. The second mile is to love those who may not love us. The character mile moves us from slaves to masters, from have to want to. The second mile is also a commitment mile. Jesus also said we should turn the other cheek in that same teaching of the Sermon on the Mount. And when we are slighted or disrespected at home, in the workplace, even in the public arena, it is our opportunity as Christians to stay committed to Jesus' way of living and loving. Our reaction is to love more, not retaliate. And you and I both know that's hard. That's not easy. It is not something that we react that way naturally as a human being. But with Jesus in our heart, on our mind, and as our focus, we are to persevere and not push back. We're to love even those who have marginalized us, ignored us, or even taken advantage of us. Thirdly, the second mile is a commission mile. Jesus suggested that successful people live the second mile life. The first mile is pretty crowded. When you get into the second mile, it's not very busy at all. Most people don't live that out. Most people never get to second mile living. So I'm going to challenge you today to try to go the extra mile with the people around you. The reason it would be a commission mile is Jesus said, go and make disciples. Teach them to obey what I've commanded. Can you imagine a Roman soldier grabbing a Jewish believer off the street and saying to them, you're going to carry my pack for a mile. And at the end of that mile, that Jewish believer saying, let me just go ahead and do this another mile. The Roman soldier would have been totally confused and said, why are you doing this? Can you imagine with me that Jewish believer would say, well, I heard Jesus teach about this. And maybe the Roman soldier, if he didn't know, would say, well, who's Jesus? And that conversation even could lead to not only a conversation, but even conversion. That's the way we're to live, so that people ask us, why are you doing this? Why are you living differently than everybody else around you? Raise the bar. Build this concept into your life. You will not be sorry, but find joy in serving beyond the first mile. Thanks so much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.